I took my shape from your mind. I took your language. I became the woman I found there in your deepest thoughts, your deepest needs. I am the feminine in your mind, Carlson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We're a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me is...
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
With me in spirit, but not actually.
Yeah. No, I'm not here in spirit. I'm just here.
No, we're actually in the same room. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, You threw me off with that one.
It's funny because, like, I threw you off, but, like, saw your face, like, right in front of me being thrown off. That was weird.
You know, I'm glad that you have to deal with the repercussions of your destabilizing ways.
Like, you destabilized, threw me off.
So you destabilizing me, in turn, destabilized yourself.
Yeah, so how are you doing?
Good. I'm here in Minnesota, freezing in a basement, so I feel like I'm in high school again.
I mean, we have a heater going, Khalid. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm a California boy now. I'm used to certain creature comforts, like it never going below 60 degrees.
Fair. Yeah, it's kind of chilly here,
but kind of chilly.
Yeah,
I have icicles at the tip of my nose.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really nice to have you here. I am very excited that we get to record in the same space. It's very rare that this gets to happen, so it's very nice.
I appreciate that, Joe, but you can take your hand off my lap.
Okay. All right.
I'm kidding, guys. He's not harassing me.
Yeah. Yet.
Thank you, Joe. In all seriousness, it's always fun when we get these rare moments to record in person together. It's crazy. 100 episodes in, and I think we've recorded together less than 5 times.
I want to say it's probably been only twice.
Yeah.
This might be the 3rd time.
Crazy, but Here we are.
Yeah, there we go. And what a doozy we're here for, right?
Yeah, if there was any movie I could talk to you about in person.
Aren't you glad it's this one?
I'm something.
Before we start heading that way, shall we housekeep?
Let's sweep.
Housekeep. I just wanted to shout out that we do have our Patreon and a shout out to our Patreon producers who are Luke Johnson, Andy Groth, Jake Cole, and Joe Michaud. They are some of our top supporters. If you would like to join the Patreon, check it out. And we have some exciting Franken bits, which are these extra special episodes for our patrons. We just released a new one. You want to tell our listeners what it's about?
Yeah. So in honor of the Super Bowl halftime show, we finally got around to doing a little bit of a dissection of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. We had a longtime Frankenstein, Joel Brewster, join us on that episode, and we just kind of dissected the origins of the beef, how it kind of came to reach the perfect climax in a halftime show that really just kind of put the final nail in the coffin as far as my estimation of Drake. But I don't want to spoil the discussion for you. If you're looking for something cool to check out and you're not sick of hearing us twice a month, go and be a patron, because we got some goodies like that and some other awesome episodes on there.
Where's the beef, Khalid?
What are you talking about?
You said beef. It made me think of that.
Oh, think of what?
Where's the beef? The slogan is a thing people say.
All right. No idea what you're referencing.
So, become a patron. You'll get more stuff like that. I sold it.
Stuff like that, he means the Kendrick stuff, not the where's the beef reference that I assume I hope is from something.
I think it's from a thing.
You're referencing something you're not even entirely sure about?
I mean, don't we all do that?
Sure, we sure do.
Yeah. But anyway, you can become a patron, help us out. It would be awesome. But with that, I have a question for you, Khalid.
Hit me.
So, anyone who's clicked on this episode knows we're talking about Lifeforce, knows it's about space vampires, which we'll dig into. But my question for you is, how do the space vampires power their ship?
How do they power their ship? A blood drive?
With batteries. Because bats, get it?
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm fine.
He shrugged, but you can't shrug on a podcast.
I feel like you could feel the shrug though. Like that's all it warranted.
And that's a segue, Khalid. What are we talking about?
Thanks for asking, Joe. Today we're talking about the 1985 film Lifeforce, directed by Tobe Hooper. And I've got a synopsis from your homeboy Khalid. And it goes a little something like this. An astronaut, a naked vampire, and young Patrick Stewart make threesomes look dull in this sci-fi saga that literally spans the globe without feeling like it's moving much at all.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Boom. All right, succinct. I like it. Very nice.
You know, I didn't want to waste any more time than the movie did.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh boy, this was. I appreciate that you did the research to look into like the director's name though, because I feel like whenever I read it, I want to say Tobe.
I also want to say Tobe.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I knew it was Toby, so I was wondering if you knew it.
I just took a swing. I was like, I'm either gonna say Tobe wrong, or I got it right and it's Toby.
Yeah, it's more likely the gamble of going with Toby is probably right?
Yeah. Apologies, Tobe, if that is in fact your name.
No, it's Toby. I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Suck it, Tobe.
So before we get into some thoughts, I got a little bit of background about this movie to kind of set the stage. So this was based on a book. Did you know that, Khalid?
I believe it.
Fair enough. So Tobe Hooper was given. So Canon Films produced this. They gave him $25 million, free reign, basically, and then the book by Colin Wilson, which is called Space Vampires.
That's literally what it's called.
The book is called Space Vampires. Yeah. That being said, you'd think, based on the title, that the book was more campy. The book is way more serious and like philosophical than the movie.
That sounds like something that you would see like in a catalog for a Scholastic book fair.
It kind of does. So, yeah. Anyway, the premise of the initial book takes place like in the future, like 21st century. Like this was, it's further in the 21st century, more based on like Lovecraft kind of ideas where we're like doing more deep space missions is in the asteroid belt, and they find these like space vampires basically. It's sort of like asking more deeper questions, like what's the ramifications of this contact with this alien species, and like the energy transference starts to become something that humans research and be like, oh, we have the capability to like withdraw somebody's energy ourselves. And so there's like more of like, how do we learn how to utilize this like power? And then there's an even higher power that comes that's sort of like above the space vampires. So it gets really like deep and like big sci-fi questions. And apparently Colin Wilson was not very happy with this adaptation of this book.
What?
So it's very much like harder. It's trying to be harder sci-fi, whereas I think the movie is definitely leaning more into like a B movie, like schlock vibe, where it's like, I think it's like paying homage to like the Hammer films, where it's like Professor deals with supernatural shit, So like there's that, but it's definitely a very different story. So anyway, we have director Tobe Hooper. We have screenplay by Don Jacoby, but also Dan O'Bannon, who wrote OG Alien.
That's that guy. Even this movie does not affect his Hall of Fame status.
Right. I mean, it's got a pedigree here, but like anyway. So that being said, one other change I wanted to say: the change in the movie that from the book is instead of the asteroid belt, they switched to Halley's Comet. But that was the reason they did that was because Halley's Comet was going to like pass by like right after this movie was released.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God they made that change.
So anyway, Khalid, that being said, a little background out of the way. What did you think of Lifeforce?
Man, this movie just like, it feels like every time this movie was about to get good, it really was like, gotcha. We're just going to go back to three scientists theorizing. We're not going to show you shit. I think the first, like, I don't know, this movie's just like, it's blue balls the movie for me, if I can be a little crass. It feels like there are so many like cool scenarios that only kind of get spoken about in passing. The first one being like what happens on the ship. You know, we just kind of like I love that like it was like so quick to go into what the movie was even was. Like you don't even know anybody on that spaceship when shit's going down. It's just like we found something. It's this big. Let's go check it out. I'm like, cool. You know, I was really respecting it at that moment. It was like a very lean, efficient movie. And then just when it starts to get interesting and they find the space vampires and they're looking at them and they like decide to do anything with it, it's just like 30 days later. And you're not even 30 days later on the ship. You're 30 days later on Earth with a whole different cast of people who you also don't know. You're trying to figure out if you needed to know anybody from that last scene. And that kind of just summarizes the movie in a nutshell. Is like it just kind of keeps introducing people and then telling you about stuff that happened off screen. And so I'm just like, well, can I see that movie? Everything that happened off screen sounds dope. But yeah, ultimately, I think that this movie got like really, really, really wrapped up in like the inner logic of how these energy transfers work and everything, to a point where even me, who like I love me some world building. I love when you try to like make like a technical assertion out of like what feels like a fantastic thing. Even I had to get off the train at some point. I don't care. What do you like? Yeah, she wants me now because I've got a little bit of her in that she put in me. And I'm just like, I don't care about any of it. None of this is tracking for me. And I wish it was because it sounds kind of cool. But the way you have been delivering all of this information makes it just useless to me. I don't want to just be poo-pooing it though. So I will say, I think that there is like a degree of like, there's a Jennifer's Body-esque like humor to it all too, of just like all of these guys that are just like powerful because it's a naked lady. Yeah, it's just, that's just like a funny joke to me because it's like, yeah, like, oh yeah, she's just like a hot babe. And for some reason that means that nobody can do anything. And it doesn't really like interrogate it beyond that, except for like the one or two times when like somebody does like a stage fall when they come near her. But yeah, it didn't ever feel cohesive enough for me to like hold on to any part of it and like appreciate that throughout the movie. I just kind of was like along for a very disjointed ride. And so I kind of come out the other end searching for things I liked about it versus like pointing. What about you?
Yeah, well said. I think I might be a little more favorable on it than you, but also not that much. I think my opinion overall, it's like half of a really awesome movie and half of a really like meh movie, like very basic. Like I don't know, like when I was watching the first like act, the spaceship stuff, like I was so sold. Like all of that was so cool. Like there has this like truly effective like blend of like horror and just classic sci-fi pulp. And like as a reader of like old school sci-fi and like present day sci-fi and all that stuff, like I felt that in those sequences where it's like weird space mission, strange ship that makes no sense, shouldn't be there, like exploring some like derelict old spaceship, like bodies of bat aliens, like all of that was like my bag entirely. I was like, hell yes, I'm in. And I think there's actually a director's cut versus a theatrical cut. The director's cut spends more time in space in the beginning. And I watched the director's cut, and so we spent a little more time in space than you did. So I appreciated that stuff a lot more. But like we see when they find the bodies of the three like humanoid ones, right? Even that, when like the males are just like ensconced or like transfixed by the the female vampire, and there's like the one female crewman who's like, "You guys all right?" Like that was interesting. I'm like, I wanted more of that interplay.
I thought it was gonna be a hot alien.
Yeah.
Like the Alien the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought it was gonna be. It was like, what if the xenomorph was a smoke show?
I think that was setting, and they were setting this like stuff up like that. The seeds were there, and like even just the sequences of like going into the ship. Like you see these really cool like rotoscope shots of like the astronauts going into like the beautiful matte paintings, like all of that. Wonderful. But then it gets to Earth, and I think like there's some interesting kernels in the lab. I think some of that stuff's interesting, but man, the middle act was just so like trying to track her down, and like I was kind of like I was losing me, like.
Well, and then at some point she's just not her.
Yeah.
And again, you don't see a lot of this. It's
Yeah.
just relayed to you, which is like the worst way to experience a movie. It's like,
Yeah. And I think the only time it kind of comes back to being cool is like the very last act when they're like on the streets of London and everything's chaos again.
Mhm.
And we see the Bat Monster actually. Like that's when it was cool again. And I will say, like, I also say a highlight. I think Patrick Stewart's scenes were really interesting when he was like possessed by her. I thought that was fun. But like a lot of the middle stuff was just like, it just lost me. Like, I think like I see some of the stuff that they were going for, but it wasn't good. And the characters, like you're saying, like we just getting all these random characters were so like vanilla and not interesting, and except for like two. I think.
there's also just no real tension to the story.
Right.
Everybody we follow, at no point is anybody like, this sounds like bullshit. It's everybody just kind of just with no resistance accepts all of this information, which is theoretical for the most part. Eventually they lean on like the main astronaut as a psychic connection to the vampire. But before then, it's just a lot of theorizing and nobody pushes back. Nobody pushes back on the idea of like supernatural anything. And it just doesn't feel like any of these people are real other than like expository devices for so much of it. And like the worst kind. Like it feels like a Reddit board just trying to like hypothesize like how real vampires would operate.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like
Right.
you've got like the scientist who studies death. Like, but it's like a philosophical death, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right up until he's the only one that knows like what weapon kills it, which like the thing that pissed me off was like, yeah, leaded metal kills it. So bullets don't? The many bullets we saw fired did nothing? So not leaded enough? Not metal enough?
It would be like extra lead.
The hell are you talking about? What is this?
Okay. So again, real quick back to like the space stuff. The Tobe Hooper apparently wanted the space stuff to be like way more extensive, but he was actually asked to cut all that down, and some of it was even against his wishes. Like they cut a lot of the space stuff, and some of it was put back in the version that you watched. Do they have the flashbacks to the space traveling back?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. A lot of that was supposed to be all in the beginning, like all of like it was supposed to be like the first like 30-40 minutes were all in space.
I agree with you. The space stuff's the best.
I think that was cool. And I actually like when I was watching the movie and I was like seeing those flashbacks, I was like, I would like if the movie was that, like this like slow burn, like alien, like you said, hot alien, right? Like if it's like someone's killing everybody, and like also like we slowly get hints that Carlson, the main astronaut, is like kind of going mad, like blaming things on other people. Like that's really interesting instead of being told in like a short flashback, you know, like that would have been a great movie. But yeah, they cut a bunch of that stuff and like retooled it as a flashback, which is a bummer. I will say the professor Falada was his name, who was obsessed with death. Dope trans flag tie. You notice that? The baby blue, baby pink tie the whole time?
Was it in support of...
No, I'm sure it's not, but it feels like it
looks
is.
like a trans flag. Okay,
so
yeah.
cool.
Respect.
He changed it once, but he changed back into it. That was really fun to watch.
All right, ally.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Faluda, ally.
I like that. Yeah, that actor is Frank Finlay. He was made a companion of the British Empire, which is like a high honor, but not quite a sir, but something similar. And he got to meet the Queen at this time. And the Queen was like, "What are you working on?" And he was like, apparently too embarrassed to say the title, which was Space Vampires at the time. So he like made something else up. It's like kind of fair.
I'll be real. If you would have pitched, let's watch Space Vampires, and I got this, I would be more pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lifeforce is the very apropos title for this.
I know. Yeah. I will say, I think that, okay, one of the highlights for me was this, like seeing young Patrick Stewart, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was cool, but he's like third build in the cast, like right away. His scene, like he's only in like 18 minutes, I think, of the movie.
Yeah.
And like, I did really enjoy him there. Like when he was in there, I was like, yeah, Patrick Stewart. But like his sequence where he's possessed by the space vampire was pretty fun, but I really wanted it to go further. Like there was a scene where like the main astronaut's like seeing her / Patrick Stewart on the bed, like talking to him. And he's like, "I'm the feminine in your mind." That was a great line. But like he kissed Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
And they like cut. I'm like, show that shit. That's what I want to see.
I agree. Like it's why I put it in my like synopsis and stuff like that. Is like they somehow made a threesome between like a hot naked vampire lady, an astronaut, and Patrick Stewart boring.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it could have been great.
That's a real missed opportunity.
Like, I want to go back to like what you're saying about like this Jennifer's body. Like Jennifer's body like takes these tropes that were so prevalent and like makes it like better. Like
Yeah.
they play with it in a way that's like, you know, more feminist and just like more equitable in a lot of interesting ways, and like turning some of those things on their head. Like this is like those initial tropes that Jennifer's body is like trying to tell us we're bad.
Well,
you know?
Jennifer's body is like making a joke on the
Yeah,
idea
it
that
is,
somebody could be
exactly.
so hot you would ignore all the warning signs that they would murder you.
Right.
This movie is not
No.
in on the joke. This movie is like, no, this chick's a smoke show and you would die before you
Yeah.
like saved yourself.
Like it's there's no subtlety. It's like it's sincere to like a weird degree. Like, yeah, like I feel like you give the premise of like, you know, yeah, actually like femme fatale, like goes after men, but actually she doesn't. She actually goes after a woman at one point too. That was interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't the idea that like that's not even what she looks like? Like the guy, the astronaut somehow created her.
He created her, but I don't know if that's. I think she looks like that. I think she basically took her form based on his mind.
Which, like, what does that mean? Is she based on a person he saw once and is just like creepily harboring in his brain?
I don't know. I feel like that was such a weird like thrown in line too that I almost like glossed over it.
And it's like, again, it's hard not to, because like all this movie does is like theorize and like you just kind of have to assume most of it's true, because like it's kind of beside the point whether it's true or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that so like we're gonna get into it, like Matilda May's character, the space vampire, like there's that's a big part of it, but like it's very much evident that this was like a vehicle to be like, let's just show like a naked woman for a long time, like a young naked girl for a long time.
And I did feel gross about it.
It was a little weird. And there's some behind the scenes stuff that feels a little weird about it too.
And she's like making out with all these dudes and stuff. And it's like, some of these guys are like twice her age.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's very, very
and I think that you could like on a text level, if you saw the text of the movie, like the script or something, you'd say like, okay, there's some like, I don't know, feminist element to it, right? But like, it's not there. This movie's not saying really anything, which is fine. Movies don't have to say anything. It's fine. But this is not doing much. And I think that there's opportunities that if this were to be made present day, and I almost don't want to like give it the out of being an 80s movie, because like we got Alien in 79, and that's a pretty like,
one of the writers of Alien, the writer of Alien is on this.
But like, so I don't want to give it that out, but like I feel like there should have been more. It would have been interesting if there was more like equity in like the nudity with like the male vampires too.
Yeah.
Like, give me some dicks, I guess.
You heard it here, folks. Joe's favorite catchphrase. Give me some dicks.
But like, apparently it was also partially due to censorship standards at the time.
That why there weren't dicks?
They had to wear, like, they had to make the male actors wear like nudes colored socks on their penises in case one were to have accidentally got on camera.
Look, there's a world where you make this movie and it is, again, like a Jennifer's Body-esque thing about like the allure of women and like why we as like men like turn them into monsters for being hot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so many cool things that you could talk about, and like this movie just doesn't seem interested in any of it other than just kind of like, it's almost like the only thing it is self-aware about is that it's kind of boring except for when the naked lady shows up.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, and like at that point, it's just like, well, it sounds like you're kind of just pornographic.
Yeah, I mean, they had to like work hard to not be X. I think. Like that's why, like in the sequence where she's escaping the lab and she's in shadow, like they had to cut like shadow in post, like to not have an X rating because there was too much nudity, you know.
And I think the annoying thing is that like even within all of that, like she like single-handedly like possesses like half of like London, and we just kind of see it after the fact. It's like it's the least interesting way to see that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know,
like they just find out over the radio, like while we're over there, like
that helicopter pilot is getting like 5 of the most important phone calls of his life on one flight, and he just keeps relaying it to him. And they're also getting calls. I'm just like, they got this many calls in the 80s on one helicopter ride?
What does he say? You're going to want to hear this. yeah, we do.
You're going to want to hear this. Movie's going to make a little bit more sense after this.
Yeah, I think one other interesting thing about the story I did kind of want to touch on, like, and I think this might be like why it was not as interesting as we thought, is like it was trying really hard to, in the source material does not do this, but the movie was trying really hard to make parallels to Dracula.
Well, yeah,
the OG story. Yeah.
Yeah, they were really trying to be like, guys,
Yeah.
this is where vampires come from, and I just couldn't give a shit.
I mean, like, there's so many like 1-to-1s when you think like the professor obsessed with death, like that's a thing in Dracula, like vampire who comes to like through the ship that was like kind of wiped out, like we watched Dracula Boat. That's kind of an element to that.
Dracula Boat.
What else? Refuge in a religious temple. There's like the cathedral part at the end. Even like the Carlson character who's got like a piece of the space vampire in him. Like that's kind of like a Renfield element. You know, like there's a lot of like parallels to the original Dracula story that they tried to shoehorn in there, and I feel like that is sort of what slowed it down a bit. Like I was like, we didn't need that. You know, like make it its own thing. Like you could have made the funny like, oh, this is where vampires come from, but you don't need to parallel that story.
Yeah, it could have been a throwaway thing of like, you know, they've been here before. It's very possible that this is where vampires even came from. And that's cool. When you straight up like outline it and the guy's like, no, I had psychic visions. This is the vampires that we know of. It's like, I don't care. Like they're still aliens, right? Like I don't think changing them to vampires suddenly makes the movie more interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was...
Especially because it's like a boring kind of like soul-sucking vampire. It's not even the vampires that we recognize.
Right.
Although I will say that, and I assume you have some notes on the blood effect thing when Patrick Stewart gets like drained.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like that was probably one of the few moments where I was like, damn, this feels cooler than the movie I've been watching.
So we'll get into it when you get to the monster element, but like I think the effects are highlight. Like the effects are so cool.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like that's like the top tier of this movie. Like that's why you watch this movie almost.
But again, it's like that jarring thing of like you get like this amazing spectacle like with the space scene or some of the monster effects. And then like you remember that like 75% of the movie is just like people in like rooms.
Yeah, just
talking.
Yeah.
And it's so, and like I genuinely at times was like, wait, what was the budget for this? And then you go, this feels like a bigger budget thing than it should have been.
And they went over budget too. Apparently they went super over budget, probably with the cool stuff. And then they were like, shit, we got to shoot the middle parts now. I'm sure that's got to be part of it. But like, even like the big actors in this, like Patrick Stewart's kind of a bigger actor. I don't know if he was at the time, but like Frank Finlay, who was Dr. Falata, like they kind of like take those two out of it too. Like, and we were focusing on Carlson, this like astronaut who sucks. Like he's so boring. And his like connection to the space vampire is stupid, and he's stupid at like handling it. And then this like Colonel cop guy, I don't remember his name, but he's like the protagonist. Like he's the at the end, he's the protagonist. Like, we were following at the end. I'm like, this fucking guy, I don't know. Like, and then we kind of have that like whatever, like Lord whatever Percy or something. I don't remember his name. There was another guy who gets killed, but there's like so many people that we're following, and it's
like, a lot of interchangeable.
I really wanted to just like, you know, Patrick Stewart's one role, but I would like to, if he was the lead, that would be cool. But I wanted to follow the professor more. I think he was the only one with interesting things to say, and like his scenes were, I was interested in him. Like he was a good actor, you know, like
Professor.
But then they cut him out. Like he's like stays back, and then the other two like go on a little adventure, and that was just, I was lost. Like that lost me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why, again, half of a really interesting movie, half of a very, you know, boring movie.
I will say I do like that they kind of forbearsed it in that like they kind of at one point the defenses do kind of work. You know what I mean? Like these are very fightable monsters. Like it's just two guys against two vampires.
Yeah.
And they win. And it's like, oh yeah, no, they did everything they were supposed to do. They emptied the clips on them. When they realized that didn't work, they threw grenades, and that worked.
Yep.
And that was, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe they're not that much trouble. What did you think of like the architecture in those like basement lab scenes where it's just like a bunch of like doors that just lead to other doors? Like those rooms do not seem like they're there for any purpose.
Like with the people that were in like the cells,
they just kept like they would just like have to keep running. Like when the first guard gets soul sucked, the cop guy is like watching it, right?
They have, like,
and he runs downstairs and then he runs through some doors that lead to more doors. And it's not like they like have doors on the side that's like, well, you have to go through this door to get to that. No, it's literally just a hallway that every few feet has doors.
Yeah, that was so weird. It was like, a lot. Wait, like cut that scene instead of the space stuff.
Because they had it, then it happens again, like literally a minute later when he starts to get soul sucked.
More
and
people.
And then 3 cops come running through, and they're going through the doors.
And that's like a good point too. Like with that, like I kept thinking like different people were the main characters. Like again, the astronaut in the beginning.
Yeah.
Then I thought it was that guy who ran through the doors. I was like, oh, he's the main character.
Yeah.
But then we like never see that guy again.
He just kind of shook.
And
He's
then it's
like,
the professor.
yeah.
And then I'm like, the professor's not even the main character. And then the astronaut comes back.
Mm.
I'm like, he's kind of the main character, but he also sucks.
But he also disappeared for half an hour. Like that's a bad main character.
Yeah, right.
And then he just kind of keeps like tiptoeing around what happened on the ship, like the most interesting thing he has to offer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so but really though, what did you do up there? Because, well, I had to destroy all the tapes, so no one knew what we did up there. Anyways, what are you guys up to? Oh man, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about it that is even worth kind of like dissecting on a story level. I think the ending was dumb.
Which part?
When he like throws the sword down to him.
Oh yeah, here's the sword. He stabbed. It was cool that he stabbed himself too.
I guess, but like again, like
Well, just 'cause
this monster does not seem very interested in self-preservation.
Well, just I didn't really care about that guy surviving. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The ship was cool.
The ship was sick. The ship was sick.
Apparently, it was supposed to be like designed after an artichoke, but also kind of phallic. So
okay,
it's like a phallic artichoke.
Oh, and an artichoke's kind of supposed to be like female.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I think the ship design was cool.
Yeah, so there's kind of an H.R. Geiger thing there.
There was some I feel like some of the map paintings in the ship were Geiger-esque.
Well, I mean, when they were going through like what looked like a giant like womb or something, you know, and he's like, something about this feels familiar.
Oh, you say that, yeah.
I just wanted to turn around and like high five the other astronaut dudes.
Oh my god. I suppose so. We probably should talk about Matilda May, the main space vampire.
Yes.
So some interesting stuff about her. She had to learn her lines phonetically because she's French.
Oh.
Didn't speak any English. When she was asked to disrobe during the audition, she actually excused herself at first because she didn't understand exactly what was going on. So she thought this was like a porn movie. And was like, I don't actually want to do a porn movie, and was going to leave. And they're like, no, this is a sci-fi movie. And so she's like, all right, I'll try it again. But so she basically had to learn English like with the script basically. And apparently Frank Finlay, who's the professor, she kind of like learned from him mostly. Like he helped her, and she ended up developing like a British accent through him, which is kind of interesting. So and she was 18 when this started, so she was very young, so that feels kind of gross. She did have her 19th birthday there, and I guess like I think she said in interviews that she felt like comfortable with the cast, like everyone's saying her happy birthday and stuff, so she doesn't have negative things to say about it. But there is some stories that feel like they should be negative. Like apparently the makeup artist who worked with her is a woman by the name of Sandra Exelby, and she has some quotes where she says lots of conversations had to be had about her pubic hair. And apparently Tobe Hooper wanted her like hairless for it. He's like, oh, it's more alien if she's hairless, right? So, but apparently Sandra Exelby was like, I told Toby, like, you can't do that. She's a young girl. Like, no, that's not happening. So anyway, they had her like wax down there, and then they are like, okay, now it looks worse because you can see more and looks younger. So then they had like all this debate over like pubic hair, and like he had his input, and all of that feels like super gross, you know, like
that's so disgusting.
And I'm kind of thankful that like the makeup artist was a woman who was like able to play a little buffer there. Like I know that's probably not the case for a lot of people who would be in that position, you know. So like I'm thankful that she's there, but like yeah. So like apparently she says, they end up like lightening it, and like so she was like had to like the makeup artist had to be like down there and like trimming it up and making sure it like looked right on the camera and stuff. So that was kind of part of the gross element of it.
And I think like what bugs me about it is that like there's obviously like examples of like full frontal female nudity in movies where like it's beautiful, you know what I mean? It's shot really well, and it's like especially seeing all that stuff that happens in like the space stuff, you know, where like a lot of it is striking and evokes like stuff like Kubrick, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a lot of that is extended to her.
Yeah.
And everything about whenever I see her, and maybe it's just my own weird hangups, but like again, like I just feel like we're just seeing a naked woman to see a naked woman a lot of the time, and we're supposed to be in the shoes of the guys of like we're just so jaw dropped at like such a hot young woman that like we our brains are pudding, and it's just like it feels at odds with like what is otherwise a visually striking at times movie.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that, and it's a strange, and I think like it's definitely like in line with. And this is tough because I feel like I love so much of like what like horror and sci-fi and particularly the 80s bring to the genre, right? But it often intersects with like exploitation. Like B movies, like Roger Corman era, like that was all about like how many boobs can we put on screen? You know, like some of those movies are, and some of those movies I still love. Like there's some really good ones and some really like some gems and stuff, but like there's some really gross stuff that just like I feel like you kind of have to draw, like as a viewer, like you know all this happened, like you kind of have to draw a line like what's uncomfortable for you, or like, you know, like and honestly for me, like having like watching a lot of these kinds of 80s movies, and like I always kind of have to figure out what that line is, you know, like I don't know if I can enjoy this anymore, you know, like that kind of stuff. And I think that, I mean, I kind of enjoyed most of this movie, and like some of it I did not. And there's others I feel like, and others will disagree with me what their line is, I'm sure, but like I always feel like there's a lot of those movies that really get more exploitative with like the concept of rape in the script, where like rape is like used as an excuse to like show naked women, and like that just happens because the monster or something will be a rapist, or like that all that happens, and like it's trivialized in such a way that that's kind of been my line, where it's like if I know that like the movie has that, or like that's a plot point, I'm like I really can't do it. I think it just makes me feel uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah.
And like this, I think this is like kind of toes the line sometimes, but it's like nudity, which inherently I'm not opposed to. Like just nudity, like I'm not opposed to that, and I think that can be great. Like you said, like there's some really striking shots of full frontal nudity that are out there, and I think a lot of movies handle it really well. This movie, it's very much so, I think, in the vein of like, oh, hot girl, you know, that's it. And I understood that going into that, so I think that's, you know, but it needs to be said. I think that's fair. And like we said earlier, I think that it would have been more palatable too if they were able to make it a more equitable thing. Like there was 2 male vampires, like there was almost no reason to have included that. You know, like why were they there? Like you could have said more for like gender equality at the time.
Again, I don't know that, I don't know how much we're supposed to care about where these vampires came from or what they're even about beyond the naked girl.
Right.
And it's got like a weird science-y element to it in that sense of like you're kind of just created for our like consumption.
Oh, Weird Science, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it feels like you were created for us to ogle at.
Yeah.
And everything else is just kind of like ornamental.
And I don't want to take anything away from her. Like Matilda May, very beautiful woman. Like, and she seems great. So
yeah.
Like, it's just the elements around her, I think, for sure.
And again, if it was like just a straight up exploitation movie, there's even a world where it works. You know what I mean? But again, the movie isn't like aware enough of itself and what it's like propagating for it to succeed on that level.
And it's trying to have its feet in like both lanes. Like it's trying to be serious. It's trying to be like, let's do like a higher minded vampire flick. Let's do some sci-fi. And then let's also just be like exploitation, like you said. And I think like, because it's like trying to be all those things at once, it doesn't quite succeed in any of those, you know? And I think I've even read some interviews where Tobe Hooper like also feels the same way, where he's like, we should have called it Space Vampires. We should have done, you know, all these other different things. And so
respectfully disagree, Toby. Yeah. Space Vampires would have pissed a lot more people
off. I think like with the implication of that and then coming down more on the B movie element of it.
Yeah. If they'd have leaned into the camp of it all, then yes. A movie called Space Vampires might be warranted.
For sure.
Yeah, this movie is definitely not a Space Vampires worthy title.
Totally. But anyway, yeah, all that to say is I think I don't know, it doesn't say anything.
Yeah, or if it does try to say something, it's lost on me. And you know, I'm not like a genius when it comes to dissecting movies or anything, but I like to think that I put in enough effort to like, if there is something worth talking about, I find it. But this movie just really like I was searching and the ending just kind of came and went and I was just like I guess I saw it.
Yeah, and I think I said this, but I'm not anti-nudity. I'm not trying to be like a prude by any means. Like I'm also the person that like 10 minutes ago said give me dicks, right?
Yeah, you did say give me dicks. Also, Joe's nipples are out right now. He is not anti-nudity.
No, I'm pro. But like, yeah, maybe get a little more.
We both are probably in alignment when we say like nudity with substance is always better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. Anyway, so I don't have much else to say about the movie in that regard.
Yeah, as Forrest Gump would say, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I think we should get to probably the best part about it though, which is the monster of it all. Shall we monster?
Let's monster.
Yeah, let's monster. So the space vampires. I think, as I mentioned briefly, the effects in this movie are easily a highlight. And like, if our like discussion has turned you off of watching this movie, watch it and for the effects alone. Like I'd say, like watch the first part, fast forward to the middle, go to the end again. Like, it's cool. Like those effects are cool. So in the novel, the aliens initially appear to be humanoid, bat-like creatures. They are subsequently shown to be squid-like, and then ultimately revealed to be insubstantial energy beings from a higher dimension. That's the novel, right? So there's like different hierarchy forms of them. And I think there's hints of that in the beginning of the movie when they like first go in and see like the bat carcasses and stuff. Like, again, that was like really cool, like existential, like terror, like, oh my God, like glad they're not alive anymore, right? Like that was a really effective sequence.
Yeah.
But anyway, with the movie itself, so visual effects, like A game. Like they brought the heavy hitters in this one. They had John Dykstra was one of the VFX supervisor, was the VFX supervisor. He's a multi-Academy Award winning VFX artist, mostly known for Star Wars, the original Star Wars. He created the effects for the lightsabers, did the TIE fighter battles.
Shit.
So yeah, pedigree. He brings something to this. He was also involved in many other movies, including the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Did the effects there. He did Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the original Battlestar Galactica, and Stuart Little.
Well, you got to lead with that.
Yeah. It was a big one for you, right?
Yeah. I just remember that tweet that's just like, man, can you imagine being the kid in the orphanage that finds out the mouse got adopted?
Right. Stuart Little monster. Do we count that? Yeah.
I do, especially because technically in the lore, Stuart Little is a human who just came out looking like a mouse.
Oh.
That's a monster if I ever did hear one.
I think that's fair. We'll do it in the podcast sometime.
We gotta do it.
Anyway, so like that being said, there's a whole lot of really amazing visual effects tidbits. I talked about the rotoscope. I talked about the map paintings. Not going to go too deep into that. There's a lot of interesting use of lighting and lasers to create like the energy like forces and stuff, and kind of like the soul, what the soul is supposed to look like. Apparently, I had a lot of discussions of what souls would look like, I guess. But I have a really cool article that I'll link to in the show notes about all of that. Anyway, so some of the interesting stuff that I think are more like monster-y based, they did create full-size models of the 3 vampire actors. So Matilda May and then the 2 male vampires. When we see them in the little pods, those are all model shots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they look real.
Yeah, exactly. They did really good with that. And so here's what you're talking about with the death scene. I don't know exactly what they did to it, but they had full-size like body casts with Patrick Stewart and a couple of the other, I think the Professor Fallada character too, the Frank Finley. They had body casts of them to like make their death scenes happen, where they like sucked them dry or like bubbly and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was pretty gnarly. The effects. So the company that they hired to do the effects under John Dykstra was Apogee Inc., I think it's pronounced, and a guy named Nick Maley did the prosthetics. Ultimately, when they were doing the work in camera, they had to consider the lighting and like how are we going to put in like the lightning, put in the energy stuff. So they called it like special reactive lighting considerations throughout all the movie, like thinking about like how are we going to do effects post. So there's a lot of interesting considerations they had to have conversations on. But that being said, so Nick Maley made like prosthetic devices like that were like life-sized, like robotic things for like the shriveled bodies. And they were controlled by like radio cabling. Some of them took up to like 20 people to operate. so basically they made robots to make the shriveled vampire people that were kind of close to death before they could get energy
The
again.
first time when that dude's eye
Yeah.
opens, that was sick.
Wasn't that so cool?
Yeah. I was like, this looks so crazy.
Yeah, I think that. So the director says that he thought that those models, those robots, they were so realistic that some people thought they were skinny actors, but they were apparently they were all models. There was the guy, the guard.
Yeah.
There was the woman that was found in the park. Those sequences when they brought them to the eyes moving and all that stuff, they had to edit out people, but people controlling them and robotic pieces going together, that was so cool. I think that still holds up as really cool.
It's weird how many heavy hitters are on this movie in terms of what could have been a sci-fi classic.
Yeah.
I
think I think it's got some B movie status to it where people there's cult fans, which is fair. But yeah, I think given the talent, this could have been like a The Thing kind of thing, where it's even maybe not have been successful in the theaters, but right away okay, this rules.
Oh yeah, it's got a lot of Carpenter DNA to it,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't really capitalize in a ideal way.
Yeah, I will say again, going back to these shriveled corpses, that sequence you mentioned was really cool. I also think when they see them in the cells,
Yeah,
when they first discover oh, it's 2 hours and then they're dead, or whatever, when the one runs out of the cell and becomes dust, that was a cool effect too.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I feel that stuff in the lab when they're first learning about them and you get the shriveled bodies, that stuff, that's the end of when it became cool.
The end of when it became cool.
Yeah. And it was just rooms and talking.
God, so many rooms, so much talking.
Yeah. Ugh.
At one point, they were talking, and they're like, "All right, should we go to this other room?" And I was like, "You're trolling me, movie. You're trolling me."
Yeah. Should we go to this other room? The other, and I got a quote from John Dykstra too. So he talks about the other aspect that they had to do, the transformation of one of the prime vampires at the end of the film from human into its bat-like form. He says, quote, "As it sometimes happens, this was a decision of the moment as opposed to something that has been carefully planned. These moments are fun. We discovered that the use of CO2 fire extinguisher to obliterate the image of the human form and then reveal the image of the bat-like form on a soft cut cross dissolve was very effective." So they basically just figured it out to be how are we going to make this transformation happen? And that's really cool. Mm-hmm. The bat-like model, the bat monster, was you could see post or behind the scenes pictures of it, about 3 to 4 feet tall. So it was a model that they had robotics in, and they were, I think it was a puppet mostly. But that was for the amount of screen time it got, such an intricate piece and really cool.
I mean, yeah, again, it just kind of speaks to the disjointedness of this movie, where it's you feel a lot of care and time went into parts of it,
mm-hmm.
and then not others, and so you're just left with this experience.
Yeah,
of just you're impressed, but I don't know how much of this is gonna stick.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Definitely remember some of those shriveled corpses for sure.
The shriveled corpses ripped. They're awesome. But yeah, again, it's you got the writer from Alien, you got the VFX guy from Star Wars,
and the director of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Is that? Mm-hmm. Oh, damn. Yeah. It feels like a no-brainer, and I guess it was kind of a brainer. Kind of a brainer.
Is that a bummer?
Yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, if a no-brainer is easy, then a brainer is it was harder than you think.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are harder than you think, Khalid.
Yeah. You proud of that one?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I even had more things to say, but I had to take it.
Yeah.
Fight or flirt, Khalid? Would you fight or would you flirt with the space vampire? And for those who might be new, tuning into just the Lifeforce episode, what is fight or flirt?
Thanks for asking, Joe. Fight or flirt is basically what it sounds like. Would I fight with the monster in question, or would I flirt with them? It's this whole movie is a fight or flirt. As I was watching, I was it's not even kind of fun to answer the question, because that's literally every character's conflict. You know what I mean? Flirt with it just means die. Mm-hmm. Just get your soul sucked out. Fighting it doesn't seem possible, just based on what they laid out.
I don't know. Didn't you say earlier fighting is easy?
fighting is easy, I guess, when it's the dudes.
Yeah.
When it's the girl, nobody knows what to do. But no, yeah, I will say that they did make fighting it look really easy. And yeah, I'm just not, and I'm not like in a moral high horse soapbox way. I'm just not as creepy about like hot young women. You know, that's not my, that doesn't read true when it comes from me. So I can't be like, oh yeah, I'd be like, I'm gonna come here, vampire lady. No, I would be like, I'm uncomfortable. If I just saw a woman just walking through the street like naked with like 1,000-yard stare, my first thought wouldn't be, oh, boner. It would be, does she need help? People don't do this. Does she need help? So yeah, I guess if I knew she was a vampire and I knew that part of it was like a honeypot thing of like she's so hot to distract you, yeah, I'd just throw a grenade at her and keep it pushing. It would be that simple. I don't. If you're talking about Matilda May's character in the movie, as far as like somebody that I could be into beyond just like the physical attractiveness, there's kind of nothing there. She's kind of a dud. Like she just walks around blankly looking at things, and like she's got a mission that she seems half into. So I just don't see like much of a relationship evolving out of that. And so yeah, like I'm not like a trophy wife. Like, I'll be a trophy wife, but I don't need a trophy wife. And like I feel like that's kind of what she's being like presented as. And so with that in mind and how easy it is to kill them, I would fight.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if you're like a main character in the movie and you're following the plot in any way, like we learn that basically she's imprinted on what's his face, Carlson.
Yeah.
And so like flirting, you really have no chance. Like you will die. Like,
yeah.
Basically, he's the only one who has the chance to kind of flirt, to fight, basically, like, which he does, I guess. But then he has to take himself out, you know, like she's sort of imprinted on him for, I don't really know what the reason was. Like, why did she do it? Why did she get him? Like,
I call bullshit that she even did. He just seems kind of weird about it. He just keeps shaking her and going, why am I attracted to you?
Yeah. Like he thinks like, he thinks he's more important than he is.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of feels like whenever like those like a coach or something like that is like, man, these girls in high school are like tempted me with like their outfits. Like that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, it's almost like are you sure that's what she's doing? Or are you just like not willing to own up to you're attracted?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be that. I'm sure that's not what the script says, but it reads that way.
It vibed like that, you know?
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I totally get that, yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I just, again, like I'm not blind. She is a very hot person, and like that's not lost on me, but like Fight or Flirt isn't really like, it'd be weird if Fight or Flirt was just about how attracted I was to the monsters, because like the whole point is like flirting is a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And the strategy here kind of goes nowhere. One, because she supposedly imprints on one dude anyway.
Yep.
And two, just, I don't know, we wouldn't have much to talk about after the first date.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, cool. You're here for world domination. Do you do anything besides work? You know? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? World domination. Got it.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I like it.
Yeah.
The one other thing that I wanted to bring up that I kept forgetting about was that the scene where they're like interrogating that other woman who was possessed by her. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was really weird. Like where like Carlson was like, "Rah, he's a masochist. I gotta beat it out of her." Like, what the? And then the one guy was like, "Oh, I like to watch." Like, what was that?
Everything about it was weird.
It was so weird.
The psychic vision that he's like helping them with, and it's like we just see like a clear like HD like vision of it, and he's like giving the license plate. He's like, and I think it was an R or an E, and I'm just like, so are we seeing what he's seeing or not? Because that's clearly an R.
Oh yeah, that's right. When he's hypnotized.
Yeah. Like they didn't do like the thing where it's like in like a different frame rate or like they're like editing it in a funny way. We're just seeing it.
It was normal, yeah.
And I guess he just doesn't know his R's and E's. I don't know.
I like that. That's canon. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Yeah, that's what I got.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, we did it. We life forced.
we life forced. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. It was good to do an episode on it finally.
I'm glad to have seen it just to like expand my appreciation for the sci-fi stuff from that era that I do like.
Same, and I think like it highlights the stuff that I love, and I think it gets to some of the stuff that like I think low to no budget films do that suck.
Yeah, and I mean it's easy to just point to all the home runs of an era and just say that's the era, but no, this was also a part of it, and it informs it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we move on to our final segment of the show?
Let's do it.
Our final segment is our What the Fandom segment, in which we share 1 to 2, or in Khalid's case, sometimes 3 things that we are into at the moment.
You
Khalid?
are in striking distance.
You know,
now.
I might actually.
You're making that joke in striking distance.
That's true. I am. I mean, I'm kind of encouraging you. I've only done 1 lately, and it's been like, eh.
I just haven't had time.
Like, do interesting things, Khalid.
I can't. I just haven't had time to consume as much as I used to.
That's true. I might actually have 3 this time. So you go first.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. I only have the one. What the Fandom this week? It's gonna be season 2 of the Netflix series Mo. It just came out, I believe, about a month ago. And I did my What the Fandom on season 1 probably a couple years ago now. And for those of you who don't remember, it was Mo is a show about a Palestinian American, technically, guy named Mo Amir. He has a different name in the show, but it's made by Mo Amir, who works with Rami Youssef. I've also had a What the Fandom on a couple of seasons of the show Rami, which she's in. And so this show, it takes place in Houston, and it's all about Mo and his family who, because of the conflict in the Middle East and because of like being displaced a few times, they are technically undocumented immigrants. And a lot of the show revolves around like the family's like struggle to try and get naturalized in America and the misadventures that come of that. And so season 2 picks up where season 1 left off, which I won't spoil it for anybody, but you know, when you watch the end of season 1, you kind of think, oh, maybe they're going to like reset the status quo. No, the show really like honors like the journey that he went through in season 1 and kind of like keeps pushing in season 2. I'm only 4 episodes in, but a lot of my fave characters are back and they are just as delightful as they were before. The central relationship between Mo and the actress that plays his girlfriend is such a compelling one. Mo is such a unique and like just vibrant and energetic sitcom protagonist that I think that for anybody who feels like, oh, where are all the good sitcoms, or like it's just never going to be that good anymore, it's like they're out there. You just got to look a little harder. And I think Mo is definitely a part of that conversation. So yeah, check out season 2 of Mo. It is a delightful show, and I am excited to get through the rest of the season. Joe, what the fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. That is a really good recommendation. I haven't watched it yet, but I am looking for something new, like a sitcom. And I'm looking at just the cast list, even like the guest list. Like, there's some good like comedians in there.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like all around. Cool. I'll definitely check that one out.
Also, I think it's the first ever sitcom that takes place in Houston.
Damn.
Yeah.
What an interesting fact.
Yeah.
So I have a couple fandoms I wanted to shout out. I just finished a book that I'm really excited about. It's a sci-fi / gothic horror / fantasy called Gideon the Ninth. Have you heard of it?
You know I haven't.
I'm sure you haven't. But it rules. It's by Tamsin Muir, I think is the name. I believe they're a New Zealand writer. And it's basically about this solar system that has like 9 planets, and each planet is like a different house of like necromancers. And the necromancers all have to take their top necromancer and send him to the first house, basically to like compete to become lectors, they call it, of the emperor, or like basically the emperor is like top like right-hand people, like one of each house who can live forever.
Huh.
And so like they have all these different powers. Like, each house has different like necromantic powers. Like some have like stuff about flesh, some have stuff about bone. Super interesting. And each necromancer has like a warrior that accompanies them. And Gideon, the main character, is like the warrior that accompanies the 9th house. And there's all sorts of stuff. But there's also, it's like written in such a way that feels like it's like very theatrical. And like their house is all about skeletons, so they wear like skeleton makeup. And but she's also like like a sassy kind of like lesbian who likes comic books and like basically porno magazines, and like has this like kind of like quirky attitude the whole time, and like some of the necromancers are like so overly serious, and like her like snappy like dialogue and the way it's written is so interesting, like juxtaposed with this like high fantasy gothic horror element where like some sort of like creature or like entity is like hunting the necromancers in this like giant house. It's so good. Like there's so many like weird little details and fascinating elements. Like I'm like reading it, I'm like, oh, I need to go back and like revisit those pages because like something else happened that I missed, and like it's super cool. And then there's like I think she's writing like a series of 4 books, so like there's more. And like I know that the next book kind of takes place like mostly during this time from another perspective, and so I'm very intrigued to see like what else, like whether like tidbits we learn. So anyway, it took me a little while to finish because it's dense and there's a lot of big names and big words and like world building that's going on. But like it's like a month, a little bit over a month, I think it took me to finish it. Super rewarding, and I loved it. So highly recommend that. Definitely check it out. I feel like any of those genres, fantasy, gothic horror, sci-fi, space opera, I don't know, lesbian necromancers, like all up there. Like great. Second thing I wanted to shout out, really loved, we just watched The Wild Robot animated films. I sometimes mistakenly will not think about when I think about for movie night, but absolutely delightful, like very beautiful, like animation style, amazing voice cast. Lupita Nyong'o is the main character. She's phenomenal. Pedro Pascal is in it, like really cool. I don't feel like I need to say too much about it. I just think more people should see it. I think Jimmy, our resident artist and friend of the pod and frequent guest, has shouted it out in the past when he saw it in the theaters. So I will jump on that train. And lastly, I just wanted to shout out that we have a fun episode of our other podcast, Deep Space Love, coming out soon on the recent Star Trek Section 31 with this very special guest. Khalid, you want to tell us who that is?
Yeah, they got Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh. No, it's me.
No.
It's
Wow. Way to bury the lead.
No, yeah, it was really fun to come guest and talk about Section 31, another interesting sci-fi movie that maybe didn't hit all the marks it wanted to.
Yeah.
But you'll have to listen to that episode to really hear my thoughts.
Yeah, that'll be coming out in March here. So that's another thing I want to shout out. So check that episode out for sure.
Yeah, also, Michelle, if you do want to join Deep Space Love and just like chat about, I'm sure they would have you.
We will take off work to accommodate your schedule.
Okay, if the pot wasn't sweet enough, Michelle, they'll take work off.
Yes. So yeah, those are my fandoms. So definitely, yeah, some good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Joe. Those all sound really awesome. I love the necromancer with like a Whedon-esque vibe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so those are all of our recommendations. Thank you, Joe, for the awesome in-person discussion.
Yeah, that was super fun to have you. Like, it was like I feel like I don't know whether or not to make eye contact with you or like look away. Like, it's weird.
I never stopped looking at your eyes.
I know. I looked away often.
I didn't blink once that entire time.
Yeah, like I have notes in front of me, and Khalid just goes.
Yeah, tears just streaming down my face. Anyways, thank you all for listening at home or wherever you do listen to this podcast. It's always a pleasure to do it for y'all, just as much as it is a pleasure to talk to Joe. And yeah, check us out next time. And until then, creep it easy.